It's very strange. It's a very unnatural thing. I think that people, by nature, crave recognition, but they also need anonymity. I think that human beings in general, we do better when we have anonymity because it's unnatural to be chased around like that. But yet we all want to accomplish things where we experience something where we can leave our mark.
Blake Lively has spent a decade selling the fairy tale of effortless perfection. Gleaming gowns, playful tweets, the power couple life with Ryan Reynolds. But last night, that glossy postcard burst into flames. Just after sunset, a federal judge greenlit the release of private texts Blake has fought to keep buried. Barely 3 hours later, 8 YouTube creators, from tiny gossip channels to a lawyer with 2 million subscribers, were hit with identical cease-and-desist letters accusing them of criminal digital misconduct. The timing was so tight, you could hear keyboards clatter in unison. One creator posted a screenshot stamped 9:12 p.m. Another, same letter, 9:14. It felt less like routine PR and more like a digital fire drill. Pull every alarm before those texts ignite the internet. And here's the kicker that has Reddit sleuths doing victory laps. Buried on page 3 of Blake's own filing is a stray line that seems to confirm the very rumor she's been denying for months. An offhand reference to a mutually agreed media strategy with Justin Baldoni, the man she's publicly painting as her tormentor. Did Blake just confess the secret she's desperate to hide? Or is this the clumsiest legal sleight of hand in Hollywood history? Either way, the scramble to muzzle commentary only poured gasoline on the gossip. So buckle in. We're unpacking every letter, every leaked line, and every brand new clue that Blake Lively may have just, and finally, proved her critics right. Picture it. 1 second you're sipping coffee, editing a commentary video on publicly available court docs. The next, you're accused of orchestrating a malicious harassment campaign against a woman you've never met. The letters landed so fast the creators compared timestamps on X and realized some were only minutes apart, like a batch email blast designed to muzzle anyone daring to read court filings aloud. One rookie host admitted her hands shook so hard she almost deleted her entire channel on the spot. And that timing? Impossible to ignore. Baldoni's team asks for Blake's private paperwork. A judge says yes. Blake's lawyers immediately threaten the loudest and the smallest voices covering the case. Feels less like coincidence and more like digital shred day, doesn't it? But stick around because the whiplash of those first 5 hours is just Act 1, and what follows could blow Hollywood's favorite facade wide open. Step back 6 short hours. Dawn breaks over Manhattan's federal courthouse, and Justin Baldoni's attorneys stride in with a motion that basically screams, "Show us the receipts." They want Blake's profit sheets, her sponsor invoices, even the private emails where she tallies brand deals, anything that could prove she lost money or didn't. The clerk clocks the filing at 10:04 a.m. By 11:30, the judge signs off. Translation: Blake's carefully guarded ledgers are now fair game, and her deposition, originally buried on the calendar, gets bumped up to July 31st. That alone would jolt any celebrity team. But buckle up, because lunchtime is where the roller coaster drops. At exactly 12:57 p.m., one creator posts a routine video recap of the morning's court order. 49 minutes later, another channel does the same. And then, boom. In a span of 90 frantic minutes, inboxes ping like emergency sirens. 8 cease-and-desist letters hit 8 creators, all stamped 2:38 p.m. to 3:42 p.m. The wording matches almost line for line, as if someone clicked send to all the moment Blake's lawyers realized her private texts and bank numbers were officially on the chopping block. Creators scramble into a group chat. Did you just get the threat? Same PDF, different name. They're mass mailing fear. Imagine the chaos. Screens lighting up, hearts pounding, fans refreshing feeds while hashtags spark into life. In less than half a workday, a routine discovery motion morphed into a cyber clampdown, and the internet smelled smoke. Because if her team is this desperate before a single ledger sees daylight, what nightmare phrases are lurking inside those letters? Stay with me. We're about to dissect the scariest lines word by word, and it only gets darker from here. Crack open one of those PDFs, and the first thing you see, before the polite "Dear Creator," is a headline stamped in bold, "Notice of Potential Criminal Digital Misconduct." That's lawyers speak for, "We know you're not criminals, but we'll let the public imagine you are." Next line, "Your content constitutes a willful digital intrusion into private affairs." Digital intrusion sounds like hacking a celebrity's iCloud. In reality, these creators click the same public docket link you or I could Google in 30 seconds. But it gets juicier. Farther down, a paragraph warns that the channel's coverage encourages a malicious orchestration of reputational harm. Malicious orchestration. Two scary words in a tuxedo that essentially mean you talked to your followers. No specifics, no timestamps, no example of a single false claim. Just a vibe of wrongdoing, gift-wrapped in legalese. One creator counted the phrase, inciting reputational harm, 3 times in a single page, like a horror movie jump scare on repeat. She joked on her live stream, "If I sneeze, does that incite harm too?" But her hands visibly shook as she said it. And here's the strategic genius, or cynicism, behind the wording. None of it crosses into outright defamation territory, where Blake's team would have to prove the statements were false. Instead, they dangle pseudo-criminal accusations that sound devastating but are too mushy to litigate. It's the legal equivalent of a fog machine, thick enough to cloud the room, thin enough to vanish if you try to bottle it. First Amendment lawyers call this slap light. Strong enough to chill speech, weak enough to avoid a courtroom autopsy. For small creators, that fog can feel suffocating. One channel owner told viewers, "I triple-checked every sentence, cited every source, and they still make me sound like an online stalker." The fear isn't losing a lawsuit. It's losing sleep, sponsors, and the will to click, upload. But here's the twist. The more these letters circulate, the more people are asking, why is Blake Lively so scared of public court documents? And that question leads straight into the next bombshell. Whispers about the very messages her team doesn't want you to see. Private texts insiders claim could turn her spotless image inside out. Here's the part that keeps Hollywood's gossip mills grinding at 3 a.m. Insiders swear the unreleased texts don't just show casual chatter. They expose a backstage playbook. Think midnight iMessages between Blake and her PR strategist. If the test screenings tank, pivot to hostile work environment. Or a nervous emoji from Baldoni that she screenshots, labels leverage, and sends to her attorney with the caption, "We can spin this." None of that is proven, but the rumors alone have publicists hyperventilating into their oat milk lattes. One source claims there's a group chat named Fireproof, where the actress and her crisis team plot talking points down to the emoji. Another whispers that on the very day she filed her harassment claim, she texted a brand partner, "Don't worry, I'm controlling the narrative." If that line surfaces, every cease and desist letter suddenly looks less like protection and more like preemptive cover. Imagine a jury reading those words while her lawyers argue she's the victim. Instant credibility meltdown. And let's not forget the income ledgers now in play. If those spreadsheets show her fragrance deal actually spiked during the controversy, the whole financial damage angle evaporates. Pair that with texts bragging about buzz bump, and the story warps from damsel in distress to mastermind of media mayhem. One entertainment attorney put it bluntly on a podcast. If the receipts prove she monetized the chaos she's suing over, that's game over, reputationally. No wonder her team fired legal flares at anyone discussing discovery, because once those messages go from whispered rumor to courtroom exhibit, the sweetest sunshine persona she's curated for a decade could dissolve in a single news cycle. And that's the real ticking clock. July 31st isn't just a deposition date. It's the day the fairy tale might get its darkest plot twist yet. Brace yourself, because if the curtains part, we may learn Blake's most polished role was never on screen. It was the image she cast over all of us. Legal hotlines lit up the moment those letters leaked. First Amendment attorney Rachel Cruz told a late-night radio show, "This is intimidation theater. Flashy, loud, but legally hollow." Her quote went viral, and within hours, former prosecutors, entertainment lawyers, even a retired judge chimed in. The consensus? Blake's team is flirting with what they call slaplight. Sprinkle crime-adjacent buzzwords. Skip the burden of proof. Hope the fear does the heavy lifting. Yet a few die-hard fans defend her tactics, arguing she's simply defending her peace. The split is stark. On one side, legal scholars waving constitutional flags. On the other side, loyal followers chanting, "Protect Blake at all costs." It's a tug of war between free speech and celebrity loyalty, and every TV panel seems determined to pull harder. But as the pundits spar, a different army is mobilizing online. Enter Creators Not Criminals, a 3-word rally cry that morphed into an overnight command center. Within 48 hours, TikTokers were posting side-by-side breakdowns of each gag letter. Discord servers formed for legal aid pooling. A Google Doc titled, "How to Anti-Slap Your Favorite Celebrity," racked up 10,000 live viewers before the moderators set it to view only. The energy feels almost revolutionary. Small voices refusing to be steamrolled. One streamer, eyes rimmed red from a 14-hour live, declared, "If they silence one of us, they'll have to mute the entire internet." Dramatic? Absolutely. But the momentum is real. And just as the grassroots fire spreads, corporate boardrooms start to sweat. Behind velvet curtains, execs scour risk reports. A luxury fashion house that planned a fall campaign featuring Blake quietly postpones the shoot. Translation: freeze the budget until the PR smoke clears. A streaming service mulls delaying her next project's promo tour. One producer whispers to a trade blog, "Nobody wants to bankroll a face that might be memeified as a bully." Meanwhile, rival publicists sniff opportunity, pitching their clients as drama-free alternatives. Hollywood math is brutal. One tabloid headline can scrap $1 million endorsement. And the more brands back away, the lonelier Blake's inner circle looks. That isolation could have courtroom consequences, especially if Baldoni's lawyers decide to frame it as proof of bad faith intimidation. Here's the endgame nobody's talking about. Judges despise litigants who appear to game the press. If Baldoni's attorneys present those gag letters as a pattern of witness chilling, the court could slap Blake with sanctions, or worse, open discovery wider. Imagine subpoenas for every PR strategy email, every crisis chat voice memo. Suddenly, the chessboard flips. The very move meant to suffocate commentary might hand Baldoni a tactical checkmate. And remember, July 31st is locked in ink. On that date, Blake walks into a deposition chair where every private text, ledger line, and email subject could be read back to her under oath. One wrong answer, one contradicting document, and this drama leaps from YouTube playlists to legal textbooks. TikTok, the fairy tale countdown is officially on. The clock on Blake Lively's spotless image is now set to July 31st. In one whirlwind week, we saw a court pry open her ledgers. A swarm of gag letters hit every corner of YouTube, brands slip quietly out the back door, and creators fuse into a single, very loud megaphone. If her private messages really do contradict the story she sold to the world, those texts won't just stain her reputation, they'll rewrite the script on how far Hollywood power can reach into your screen. So here's the question. When the deposition lights flip on, will Blake come clean or double down on legal fog? Drop your bets in the comments. Smash like if you think free speech still wins. Hit subscribe so you're front row when those documents surface. And ring the bell because the moment the records leak, we'll be right here breaking every line down. Until then, remember, sometimes the cover-up is the confession.